Hi everyone, welcome back to channel that shares knowledge about comprehensive personal development through good books. Do you believe that the life you are experiencing is a game or not? James Carse says there are at least two types of games in this world, limited games and infinite games. Most people are rolling in limited games, only a very small portion of people are playing infinite games. So what is a limited game and what is an infinite game? Today, we will learn about this topic through the book Limited Game and Infinite Game, authored by American philosopher and religious scholar, James Carse, author of the famous book Out of Control, once commented that this book has changed my view of life, the universe, and everything else. The whole book is not too long, but it's not easy to read and understand. The author uses a lot of abstract expressions. The book's writing style is full of philosophy, requiring us to ponder, analyze each layer of meaning to understand the hidden meaning of each sentence. I have read it several times but still feel that there are many parts that I do not really understand. The miracle is that when I think in my head, then lines appear. I take a look at this book and ask myself if I am playing a limited game or an infinite game right now. The author of this book will not build a system with rigorous reasoning that will give you a specific answer. Rather than sharing a line of thought at a broader level, and it can stimulate your thinking for you to reconsider your own valuable lifestyle. Finally, you will find the answer yourself that you are living in a limited game or an infinite game, and which game do you want to choose? This is also the reason why I want to share this book with you, a book that no matter how much you understand, is only a part, a chapter, or even just one sentence, but can have a lasting impact on you, then it is definitely a book worth reading. This book can inspire you to move towards a whole new attitude towards life, and also a new understanding of the meaning of life. What is the purpose of playing? Winning or lasting forever? What is the limit game? All limit games have the wrong purpose, winning, meaning that eventually you need to achieve a certain result, a certain title. A limited game has a clear end point. It will end when you achieve audience recognition. On the contrary, an infinite game has no fixed destination. Its goal is not to win, but to prolong the game forever. In this game, continuous progress and new experiences are the core meaning. Instead of focusing on the end point, the player enjoys step by step, constantly exploring and creating a new life. The saying "life is to be experienced" has become popular in recent years, as many people use it as a way to heal their souls in the context of life's difficulties. Words like this, at first glance, seem to help lighten the burden of life. But why do people still feel miserable, still search for something to achieve? The core reason lies in the fact that we are still living in a limited game. We are not really living according to what we understand. It is this discrepancy between perception and action that becomes the source of the greatest pain. We desire to achieve the destination of freedom, but in fact, lock ourselves in a series of limited games, playing one limited game after another, forgetting that outside of these games there exists an infinite game. At the end of the year, what have I done in the past year is probably always an obsession that creates anxiety, depression, and regret in many people. Because why? Because people often see this as the final whistle of a cycle. A year is about to end, but there are still so many things unfinished, uncompleted, unachieved. Then, we will comfort ourselves. There is still time. In the new year, I will try harder to achieve it. This cycle helps to ease the anxiety in the present, but also simultaneously binds us to a series of never-ending goals: hope, strive to achieve, then continue to hope and strive. What is noteworthy is that in the limited game, death is failure. Because death is the end, players often want to live longer, and almost everyone is afraid of death. In reality, the actions of the player in the limited game is to try to maintain immortality by hoping that one's name will be remembered by people, hoping that one's achievements will last long, so that one can have many reforms, wealth, power, and leave them for one's children to enjoy, etc. But according to the author, maintaining immortality is a state in which we forget that we have forgotten. That is, we forget that we have voluntarily chosen to participate in the limited game. We are playing a limited game. So how can there be immortality? This is the ultimate contradiction of the limited game. Always trying to pursue immortality within a limit, but never achieving it. This causes the participant in the limited game to encounter an absurd tragedy, that is, living a life that is not really lived. What does that mean? Simply put, it means that we often cannot enjoy life because we are so busy worrying about our own survival. We want to have more time to live longer but lose real life. Another reason why limited game players feel miserable is that once they win and get the title, the game is over. The player will exit the game, but this exit is not a lasting satisfaction. This is like living as if already dead, or also known as the state of death before actually passing away. Because, continue to live, continue to breathe, but the whole meaning of their life has completely ended in the game. For example, an athlete participates in sports competition with the goal of winning a gold medal at an Olympics. This person practices every day, sacrificing time and effort, all for the ultimate prize. When they win the gold medal, the game ends. However, after this goal is over, they fall into a state of emptiness because there is no goal to strive for. Or a person sets a goal of earning 10 billion in 5 years. They throw themselves into work, investing all their effort into every business strategy. And then finally they achieve their goal. When they have 10 billion, the game ends. At this point, they realize they don't feel truly fulfilled. Instead, they feel a sense of emptiness after the achievement. If they still have the ability to play, they will join a new limited game, continuing to pursue new goals. Because why? Because they have to pursue immortality by constantly proving themselves to be winners, having to repeat this performance over and over again. That is why those who win famous awards and achieve marks are rarely satisfied with their current titles, but are willing to stop. Money, glory, praise will never be enough. They have to protect their titles by participating in new games. Therefore, the limited game can be played many times, over and over again, and in this loop, as long as winning and results are still the goal, you still can't escape the tragedy of being limited in an absurd cycle. In contrast, the infinite game cannot be repeated. Because there is no end point, those who participate in the infinite game will only experience it once, so they will go all out and can make the game interesting and meaningful to themselves. Are you a passive or active participant in the limited game? Each person is born into a limited game, with existing rules. These rules are not set by us, but are the achievements of the winners from the previous generation, even many generations ago. We can say that we are forced to participate, but at the same time, it is like we actively step in to participate in this competitive game. Passive participation is when we are born without the right to choose. We cannot decide which family, social circumstances, or country we will be born into. From the moment we are born, we are led to become a suitable player in the social game, training us to achieve the molds that make us a standard player. On the other hand, actively participating in the game is more philosophical and profound. Some believe that before being born, we chose the family we would be born into, viewing the script of our lives and deciding to embark on a journey with karmic challenges. This can be understood through the saying, each person is born with their own karma. In addition, when we begin to have awareness and have the opportunity to make choices, the act of participating in a limited game becomes the result of our own initiative. We choose our own careers, shape the person we want to become, and decide how we will participate in the game. When participating in a limited game, players must always have the qualifications and permission. For example, when you decide to become a doctor, you have chosen to enter a limited game of the medical profession. You understand that this role requires specific rules, responsibilities, and conditions. What will you study? What exams will you take? What degrees will you earn? Etc. Actively entering the game is not only accepting the rules but also committing to performing one's role well in that game, seeing who is better, who can maintain player status longer. But the infinite game player is the opposite. They do not need anyone to permit them, do not need to seek a status, they can freely participate. In short, what is the purpose of understanding this? We need to understand that, whether passive or active in participating in the limited game, we always have another choice. Kevin Kelly, who published this book, said, "The difference between these two types of games helped me erase all hesitation about what to do next." You see, that means that when you no longer hesitate about the next step, you can step into the infinite game. For example, simply washing dishes can also become an infinite game. It's not that you keep washing and never finish, but if you think, "I have to wash the dishes quickly so that I can watch TV," then that is a limited game. But if you think, washing the dishes is fun, I am enjoying washing the dishes, then that is an infinite game. So, the problem may not lie in the event itself, but in how we use the psychology of participating in the game, and what role we take in that game. Kevin Kelly said, "Always choose the infinite game. It is that simple. Are you a winner or a loser?" In the book, the author emphasizes that in the limited game there are always winners and losers. The limited game has clear boundaries and requires the presence of an audience. The boundaries are the rules, systems, and standards set by previous generations of winners. And the audience are the majority of people who have failed in the game. Because they lost, they are forced to live within the framework of the rules set by the winners, having to accept existence within those boundaries. But why do winners need rules and audiences? This is not difficult to explain. Rules are the tools that generations of victors use to consolidate the titles and positions that their ancestors have achieved. This stems from the selfish nature that exists in human genes, wanting to protect and maintain the power and reputation of their family through many generations. Rules are established to ensure that the successors of the winners can continue to maintain their dominant position. And the audience? They are an indispensable group for the winner. Without an audience, titles and victories would have no meaning. Imagine if you achieve a record in an outstanding way, but without an audience, without anyone acknowledging it, then winning would be like losing. There is a book that discusses whether or not to stop the operation of universities. Many people have opposed this idea because they believe that titles like professor, principal, head of department, chair, etc. are very important. If we stop maintaining universities, these titles will lose their meaning. This is precisely them participating in a limited game. Players in a limited game always want to maintain the recognition of their title. These titles bring power and wealth, but it is important that that power and wealth be displayed before an audience. Thus, to consolidate the importance of titles, they will encourage the audience to participate in this endless competition. The more people compete, the more valuable the titles become, and thus the winners not only protect but also elevate their position and power in the eyes of society. On the contrary, those who play the infinite game do not live for this. They never want to be the winner. They do not seek immortality or maintain titles, but simply face life as an ordinary person. In the infinite game, everyone is a genius in their own right, and the concept of winner or loser does not exist. Because in the infinite game there are no specific rules, only perspectives. Everyone has their own perspective, but no one knows how far and wide that perspective will be. In the infinite game, we are all masters of our own lives and are not bound by any rules. What we do is our own creation, not repeating the past, nor copying models for the future. For example, with Picasso's paintings, no one has created them in the past, and no one can copy them in the future. Or Lao Tzu's works did not appear in the past, and no one can diminish their light in the future. Moreover, these paintings and works exist sustainably in many different spaces and times, constantly developing, changing, and progressing. In the process of playing the infinite game, limited games may appear. For example, Picasso also opened galleries to make money, Lao Tzu became an official, etc. However, they are not immersed in the limited game. If asked to paint, they will paint. If not asked, they will not paint. If asked to design a military fortress, they can do it, but they can also learn about the tongues of woodpeckers. They live completely in freedom. This is the attitude of players in the infinite game. They are not interested in the rules and titles in the limited game. So, for the question that has been asked many times, in many lifetimes, are we winners or losers? Does it still matter so much? Do we need an audience to continue doing something? Do you go to university to truly broaden your knowledge or just to get a good degree and then find a high-status job in society? Do you work because of the passion and value that the job brings, or because of the goal of earning money and being respected by many people? Do you create a YouTube channel because you want to share what you love, or just to become famous? Do you love a person for who they are, or because of the desire to be recognized and to receive their love forever? Do you post a photo for simple joy, or because of the hope of receiving likes? Do you listen to high frequencies, eat vegetarian, and chant for a deep spiritual connection, or to attract prosperity, health, wealth? Do you cultivate for the journey back to yourself, or to finally hope to reach nirvana? These questions are not to judge, but to help you look deeply into the purpose of participating in your games. Are the things you do from within you, from joy, creativity, and values that you cherish, or are they just efforts to pursue victory, to gain the attention and recognition of the audience? Once you carry the motivation to reach a destination and the desire for an audience to watch your own stage, then whatever you do, you are still choosing to play limited games. Do you have power or strength? One characteristic of a limited game player is that they will have power. For example, when becoming a lecturer, head of department, boss, etc., you have all the rights and privileges of those titles. However, it is important to note that power is only in the hands of those who win the game. It is the minority. Power is only shared with the winners through competition, overcoming, or forcing others. Power is limited not only in quantity but also in degree. The degree of power of a limited game player is limited by regulations, laws, and rules of the game. Within these limits, they will have some freedom. However, for those who have no power or little power, the only option is to obey the rules. Therefore, freedom becomes even more limited. In contrast, the infinite game has no power, but the player has something else, strength. This strength is unlimited by anything. They do not need to compete with others, do not need to compete for achievements or titles, and still have strength. Because this strength is freedom, even within limits. For example, like Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning, he was completely confined within a concentration camp, but he still had freedom. That freedom was the power in his life. The power gained here is not formed through competing or forcing anyone. It is actually a power that comes from within, a power that creates space for others, allowing everyone the ability to do what they want, not forcing anyone to do what they want. Power in a limited game can gain social recognition and freedom to do many things according to one's own desires, but no matter how great that power is, it is always bound by rules and competition. In particular, it is always limited to a small number of people. But strength is different. Anyone who participates in the infinite game can have strength. This is one of the biggest differences between the two games. Do you live according to a script or create your own legend? Each person from birth is a mixture of limited and infinite games. From the moment you are born, you can choose between these two types of games. Therefore, within ourselves there is always a conflict between the script and the legend. Those who participate in limited games are essentially living a life that is played out according to a script. That is, like a play with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Those who play the infinite game do not live according to any script. Have you ever thought about going on a trip, just going as soon as you think about it? That is the legend. But at the same time, you also need to follow the plan. Take the university entrance exam, graduate, get married, buy a house, pay installments, etc. That is the script. The limited game also has the legendary quality, but that is only temporary. Each participant wants to achieve the best results, creating their own legend. Everyone wants to become talented, understand everything so that they can predict every move in the game. They try to eliminate uncertain factors when playing, seeking stability and security for themselves. The stereotypical actions of the past are also following a script. Why do people often unconsciously act according to a script? It is because when we are born into a society that always thirsts for immortality, the formation of society is a limited game. Society always wants to create a series of people who are similar to those who have gone before. Society seeks permanence and immutability, wanting to create winners, putting them up for worship in temples for people to follow forever. Society does not like innovation, does not like you creating uncertain things. So what creates innovation and the legendary quality? It is art and creativity. One way that society maintains success in this game is to give artists a position, an investment price, assets that increase the value of consumer art. Clearly, large art collections and the world's leading museums all come from wealthy people or governments. For example, all the major museums in New York are related to the names of wealthy families like Kaki, Frick, Rockefeller, etc. But these museums were not created to protect art from the destruction of the people, but to prevent the people from accessing art. Does that give you goosebumps? We are living in a society that is blocked from accessing art, which everyone can be an artist of. We used to have pure creativity, coloring our lives with the colors of nature, once feeling the beauty of light, darkness, breath, earth, and sky. But over time, we gradually forget. Instead of painting our lives with free colors, we choose the gray color of office buildings. Instead of looking at naive drawings like when we were children, we hang on the wall the certificates and medals, as if to summarize and define success by limited victories. We used to create, used to give birth to paintings, poems, emotional handwritings, or clumsy crafts full of love, but when we start asking, how much can they be sold for, when their value is measured by profit, that is when the artist in us gives way to the capitalist. Creativity, which was meant to free the bound soul, is now bound by titles and numbers. Remember, creativity is not just about achieving tangible results, but also about living true to your own pure freedom. You don't need to become a recognized genius or a successful person to find the meaning of creativity. You are your own genius, that is enough. Sometimes, just create something for no purpose, other than to enjoy the fun, enthusiasm, and perseverance within you, and you will awaken the most innocent part of yourself. Life, after all, is not a limited commercial product, but an infinite work of art. You are the only one who has the right to paint it, not because of the gaze of others, not because of the recognition of society, but just because you want to live a life as colorful as that. Therefore, never forget that the artist in you is still there, you only need to let it be heard. It can be said that players of the limited game are truly miserable because they all have obsessions from the past. If you win an award, you need to win again. You fear losing what you have, always caring about the recognition and evaluation of the audience. Therefore, you live under terrible pressure. When Einstein won the Nobel Prize and was worshipped, people advised him to stop researching because if he failed, his reputation would be ruined. But Einstein did not care about reputation. He kept exploring, kept playing his own infinite game. Therefore, players of the infinite game can always allow the past to be the past, while players of the limited game always remember the past, wishing that the past was not the past. If you still want to create success to achieve a better state than what you did before, then the truth is that the more you want to succeed, the more you fail. Be like Nietzsche, allow yourself the ability to forget what has happened in the past. It is no longer important, because it is over, and every day we live in a new possibility. This is not a denial and escape from the past, but a recreation of the past through our own creativity. Know that the audience has forgotten us, and you only need to remember that you have the freedom to play the game. You can quit your job, you can travel immediately, you can also become a poet or writer, etc. You have the right to choose your game, and you also have the right not to participate in the game. This is your freedom to choose your game, as long as you are not motivated by any purpose. Once again, I repeat this saying, you need to believe that you are your own genius. There is no formula for nurturing genius. A child cannot automatically become a genius. Genius comes from touch. Only when you start from your talent and love, you respond to it with your heart consistently and creatively, then that is real touching. Touching is the opposite of pushing. When you are pushed to a place you have anticipated and prepared for, that is pushing, a staged action. Touching is completely different. It brings a sense of surprise, unexpectedness, and immersion. Maybe in this moment, I share with full focus, and you listen with full attention. That is also touching. Why is it so difficult for us to focus and touch like that? Because when playing the limited game, we spend time worrying, consuming, and having no time left. So, everything becomes a means to achieve a desired present, in order to fight against an unpredictable future. Think about this saying, it's very important. The purpose of work is not to support the family, to earn a lot of money, or to spend time, but to create new possibilities. For limited game players, freedom is a variable of time. We must have time to have freedom. But for infinite game players, time is a variable of freedom. We are free to own time. When you become an infinite game player, you will take every moment to play various limited games, but you do not need to have a script and you are not a serious actor in your story, identifying with the role, but rather a creative, joyful artist. An infinite game player can become an audience member of any game, but when looking at them, They understand that they are just watching, observing, and not getting deeply involved in it. With such a game, it will never end. There is one final sentence from the book that has left many profound reflections, like this: in this world, there is only one infinite game. If the limited game is not real, then is it true that when you are still engrossed in playing it, you are just living in a virtual world that you created yourself? My answer to this question, if it is yes, will certainly not be perfect. Maybe it won't even be suitable for you. I hope that you can find the answer to what the infinite game truly is. Do not hesitate to share your feelings in the comments section after listening to this complex and profound book. Because reading a book is not just listening, but also challenging yourself to step out of your comfort zone. Only when you step to the boundaries of knowledge can you see that there are other ways of looking at the world, so that you can live with wiser and more powerful choices. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who need it. Don't forget to give me a like, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to watch the latest videos every week. Once again, thank you and see you in the next video.